Going back about 60 years, we were afraid of Elvis Presley and rock and roll music. Fast forward a couple decades, rap music came out. We had Dungeons and Dragons, which was gonna kill all the kids. Fast forward another decade, and we even had something called gangster rap. As time has progressed, all these things have become a normative part of our culture, and it's going to become accepted. A lot of the people who were seen as controversial a few decades ago are now accepted, successful business members and role models for people. So I'm taking something that's kind of controversial, if you recognize this picture right here from the 50 Shades book. I'm taking something that's controversial, did research on it, I relate to questions on why something is affecting so many people, why it's popular, what motivates people to look into it, and kind of figure out why you might want to engage in the activity. A lot of people think that's controversial today is why is Donald Trump president? That's controversial. It's really kind of dividing our society. But I think if we examine from other people's perspectives, we'll be able to understand and come to a common understanding. So I want to look at 50 Shades of Grey, the book series, and from three different aspects. Why do people read the book from the story concept?
Because it's hot.
Yeah. Why, or what is it that Christian Grey actually does, and why you want to engage in these activities? So I talked with my friends and talked with people who actually read the book and interviewed and asked them questions on what they thought was interesting. I've come to a realization that there are three different story elements that make this book really popular. First one is there's a secret world of knowledge and secret experiences that you don't get to have. An example would be James Bond. He is involved in a spy world. I actually saw John Wick, and there's a secret world of assassins. It's really seductive to be able to give up yourself and your normal life to be able to go see the world through different eyes and get different experiences. The second story element that I found is that there's a rich man who saves a girl from lower class and brings her up to this lavish life. She doesn't have to worry about anything. She's got everything taken care of. A story that's really embedded in our culture is Cinderella. The third story element that I found is that a man gives up so much of himself for love for a woman. It seems very romantic. And that goes back to the Middle Ages when we had troubadour knights who would go through really uncomfortable situations and all these harsh tasks to prove their love for their lady. And so I think that with these three elements, women, by and large, really like that sort of story. So now we've looked at why people would want to read this story. Let's look at, why you'd want to actually, or what is it that Christian Grey actually does. My phone is, my quote. So Christian Grey, I looked up on Kinkley.com, looked at what is it that Christian Grey does. Christian Grey is involved in something called BDSM. It's bondage and discipline, dominance and submission, and sadism and masochism. I'm not going to get to any of the activities, but the main difference I found with the relationships is that with a normal, traditional kind of relationship, you're going to go do something with someone else. I'm going to go with my friends to go see the movies. It's a very cooperative activity. We're all engaged on equal parameters. The difference between that and a BDSM style activity or relationship is that someone is doing something to someone else. A good example is I'm going to give someone a massage. I'm the active participant in the activity, and someone else is the passive participant in the activity. So we've looked at why someone would want to read the book, what is it that Christian Grey actually does, and then we're going to get into why would somebody want to do it. In Psychological Today, I read an article about how when people engage in these sorts of activities, they enter sort of an altered state of consciousness. Just the activity itself alters people's consciousness. People are having a release of psychological stress, having an increase in physiological stress. Now, what do humans do in general to enter altered states of consciousness? They weightlift, they drink, they smoke, they do drugs, they meditate, they go out into nature, they listen to music. They participate in something that alters their state of consciousness to give them either a good time, help them process something they're going through, help them deal with pain in their life. It's the same thing with BDSM. Something that also was interesting in the psychological or Psychology Today article is that it says that people who engage in these types of activities feel a sense of closeness with your partner. And I think it deals with the third point, is that when somebody engages in these things, they're not paying attention to the phone, they're not paying attention to text messages, they're not watching TV, they're not doing anything but focusing on their partner. And I think today, where we've got so many distractions and there's just something always going on, whether or not you're just getting a call from work, you got kids going around. I think it's really seductive for people who want to do this to be able to give it up for a little bit and just focus on the relationship. And so I've gone over why somebody might want to read 50 Shades of Grey in the book series, what is it that is happening in the book, and why people want to engage in activities. Now, as I mentioned, this was a topic that I'm like, why do people want to read this book? I don't find it interesting, but I did research and I asked questions so I could understand why this book is so massively successful. And I think that if we all take topics that are controversial or we don't agree with, and we go find out why people do it and why people think the way they do, I think we'll come to an understanding, be able to better understand people, communicate with them.
Nice.